Hello, dear colleagues. It is a privilege to share with you today my reflections on the ethical dimensions of artificial intelligence in early childhood education. My name is Adile Gülşah Saranlı, and I am working at TED University Faculty of Education as an associate professor in early childhood education program. My research areas include artificial intelligence in early childhood education, differentiation, enrichment, and gifted education. Today I will be presenting on the ethical use of artificial intelligence in early childhood. Imagine a 4-year-old child interacting with a learning application powered by artificial intelligence. Every click, every word, every hesitation is captured, analyzed, and stored, forming a digital profile that may follow this child far into the future. While AI promises to personalize learning and expand opportunities, it also raises profound ethical questions about privacy, bias, and inequality. Questions that become even more urgent when the learners are our youngest and most vulnerable. Early childhood is a critical period of rapid development, where ethical missteps can have long-lasting consequences. In this talk, I will explore these challenges and propose strategies to ensure that AI is not just efficient, but equitable, transparent, and protective of children's well-being. Because when it comes to early childhood education, the ethics of AI is not optional, it is essential. Early childhood is a period in which the brain develops most rapidly and the foundations of personality are laid. Therefore, every educational technology used during this period carries not only pedagogical but also ethical responsibilities. While the potential of artificial intelligence applications to support children's learning is quite high, they simultaneously bring risks such as data privacy, algorithmic biases, and digital inequalities. In today's presentation, I will deeply discuss these risks in detail and share solution proposals for the responsible, inclusive, and sustainable integration of artificial intelligence into early childhood education. We have a problem situation, of course. Let's talk about that a little bit. Artificial intelligence systems collect large amounts of data regarding young children's learning processes, play preferences, language use, learning speeds, and even social interactions. Although this data may seem valuable for personalized learning, it carries really serious ethical risks when considering children's developmental vulnerabilities. There is the issue of data security also. Children cannot give informed consent like adults, and they cannot understand for what purposes their data are being used. Also, there are algorithmic biases. The datasets that artificial intelligence systems are trained on are mostly obtained from certain socioeconomic or cultural groups. And this situation may lead children to experience unequal opportunities in education. Third, there are digital inequalities. Reports by the OECD and UNICEF show that differences in access to technology particularly increase learning gaps for young children. Therefore, the issue is not only accessing technology, it is about introducing children to technology in developmentally appropriate, safe, and fair environments. The main aim of my study is to identify the ethical risks of artificial intelligence in early childhood education and to propose strategies for responsible integration. Within this scope, a literature review was conducted. In particular, UNESCO's AI and Education Guidance for Policymakers, OECD's AI and the Futures of Education, and UNICEF's reports on digital inequality were examined. In addition, academic studies focusing on ethical issues in educational technologies were reviewed. This literature has shown us the following. Early childhood is often a neglected area in discussions of artificial intelligence and ethics. However, the developmental vulnerabilities of this age group require placing it at the very center of the debate. What we found after these reviews, we found some very interesting data. Artificial intelligence applications can store children's behavioral data, voice recordings, images, and learning performances. At this point, children's digital footprints become permanent information that may also affect their future identities. So there is a big problem about data security and privacy, as you see. For example, regulations such as COPPA, Children's Online Privacy Protection Act in the United States, provide a framework on this issue, yet it is observed that sufficient oversight is not ensured for younger age groups. The European Union's GDPR, General Data Protection Regulations, also place children's data under special protection. However, in practice, parents' awareness levels remain very low. This situation shows us the following. In early childhood, data security is not only a technical matter, but also an ethical responsibility. Even a small reaction given by a child during play can threaten their future privacy. Another finding is algorithmic biases. Our second finding is algorithmic biases, and artificial intelligence is only as neutral as the datasets it is trained on. However, most datasets do not reflect the diversity present in early childhood contexts. For example, speech recognition applications struggle to identify different dialects and children's voices. This may lead to the exclusion of children from multilingual or diverse sociocultural backgrounds. Benjamin in 2019 refers to this situation as the new digital Jim code, meaning technology unintentionally reproduces inequality. In early childhood, such biases can undermine children's self-confidence and reduce their interest in learning. Therefore, ethical artificial intelligence requires not only technical accuracy, but also inclusive and fair systems that reflect the diversity of children. Another important finding is digital inequalities. According to UNICEF, a large proportion of children aged 3 to 8 worldwide still lack access to the internet. During the pandemic, this inequality became even more visible. The OECD emphasizes that the digital divide can lead to a cycle of educational inequality that begins at a very early age. In particular, children living in rural areas or coming from low-income families fall behind their peers when they cannot access AI-supported educational applications. This situation creates long-term inequality of opportunity. In early childhood, equal access to learning for every child should be regarded as a fundamental principle. And there are also some solution strategies, which are transparency and accountability, stakeholder collaboration, developmental appropriateness, inclusivity, and policy alignment, which I will talk about them in detail. Our findings reveal that the arbitrary or purely technological use of artificial intelligence in early childhood poses serious risks. Therefore, 5 fundamental solution strategies stand out for responsible integration. First one is transparency and accountability. Artificial intelligence systems used in early childhood settings must be able to explain how they work to parents, teachers, and policymakers. For example, a speech recognition system used in an early childhood classroom should clearly disclose the data on which it was trained and the types of voice samples in which its error rate is higher. Floridi and Coles emphasize that accountability is one of the core principles of ethical AI. In a context where young children's data are being used, this principle is not only a technical requirement, but also a pedagogical necessity. The second solution is stakeholder collaboration. AI applications are often designed unilaterally by developers without sufficiently drawing on the experiences of teachers and parents and caregivers. However, early childhood settings are highly dynamic, contextual, and culturally specific. Therefore, developers should work collaboratively with teachers and families to design applications that meet children's needs. Holmes, Porajska, Pomsta, and Holstein emphasize the importance of the ethical co-design approach at this point. Our third solution is developmental appropriateness, checking developmental appropriateness of children. AI-based applications must be appropriate to the cognitive, social, and emotional developmental levels of preschool children. For example, an AI application that requires prolonged screen interaction, designed without considering the attention span of a 4-year-old child, is not developmentally appropriate. As Shonkoff and Phillips emphasize, learning in early childhood occurs through play, short spans of attention, and interaction. Therefore, AI systems should be designed in alignment with the principles of developmental psychology and early childhood pedagogy. Fourth solution is inclusivity and diversity. AI systems must reflect the socioeconomic, cultural, and linguistic diversity of children. When algorithms are trained solely on uniform data, some groups face the risk of systematic exclusion. In early childhood, such exclusion can directly affect children's self-perception and motivation to learn. Therefore, inclusive AI is not only a matter of fairness, but also a fundamental requirement for children's healthy development. And our last solution, policy and regulatory alignments. Although international regulations such as COPPA and GDPR exist, these must be supported by policies specific to the early childhood context. UNESCO recommends the development of national strategies that specifically regulate young children's exposure to artificial intelligence. For countries like Turkey, this means, for example, safeguarding both children's rights and equity in education. These strategies are not merely technical solutions. They are ethical and pedagogical frameworks aligned with the nature of early childhood education. And these principles should be regarded as a roadmap for the responsible use of artificial intelligence. In conclusion, we can state the following. Artificial intelligence in early childhood education is inevitable. However, this inevitability does not eliminate the question of how it should be used. On the contrary, it makes this question even more critical. Our study has shown that AI applications in early childhood carry serious ethical risks in areas such as data security, algorithmic biases, and digital inequalities. And when these risks are combined with the developmental vulnerabilities of young children, they may threaten their long-term well-being. And existing ethical principles regarding artificial intelligence are generally based on adults. However, specific ethical frameworks should be developed for early childhood. And these frameworks must place at their core the child's right to play, the right to learn, and the right to privacy. And also, ethical literacy for educators and families is very important. Teachers and parents who use AI applications should be made aware not only of pedagogical aspects, but also of ethical risks. The OECD emphasizes that enhancing teachers' AI literacy will play a critical role in the ethical use of technology. Also, artificial intelligence should not be accessible only in wealthy schools, but must be available to all children. So sustainability and inclusive technology policies are very important. UNICEF notes that digital inequalities deepen educational inequalities. Therefore, public policies should be supported with inclusive and sustainable investments specifically tailored to early childhood. In conclusion, artificial intelligence is not merely an educational technology. It is a force that will shape children's future lives. Guiding AI ethically in early childhood is a necessity for the safety, development, and rights of children. As Floridi and Cowles state, AI can only be beneficial when aligned with societal values. For us, that value is the well-being of our children. As a result, we can easily tell that AI is inevitable, but ethical frameworks are necessary. Child-centered approaches, literacy, and inclusive policies are necessary. Therefore, my call is clear. Educators, families, policymakers, and developers must position artificial intelligence in early childhood not merely as a tool for efficiency, but as a tool that protects children's development, respects their diversity, and safeguards their rights. Only then can AI be integrated into early childhood education in a truly responsible and sustainable way. Imagine again that 4-year-old child engaging with an AI tool. Every hesitation, every word, every play activity is being recorded and analyzed. These traces could either become a source of lifelong opportunity or a burden of lifelong risk. The choice is not the child's, it is ours. As educators, researchers, developers, and policymakers, our duty is to ensure that AI serves children's well-being, protects their dignity, and nurtures their potential. Only then can we say that AI is not just powerful, but truly ethical. I would like to sincerely thank the conference organizers for this opportunity and all of you for your attention throughout my presentation. If you would like to collaborate on these issues, please feel free to contact me. And finally, I would love to hear your perspectives as well. In your view, what are the greatest risks of AI in early childhood education? Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments or discussion section. It will be a pleasure for me to read all of them and reflect on them. Thank you so much.